In this episode, we will see how the introduction of firearms would change Japanese history at the defining Battle of Nagashino. The year is 1575, and Japan is deep within the Sengoku period, which in English translates to the Age of Warring States. It has been just 32 years since the first Europeans, 3 Portuguese, introduced gunpowder's enforcer, the Arquebus, to Japan. In the intervening period, Japanese smiths were able to not only reproduce the mechanism and mass-produce the Portuguese-introduced weapons, but they were able to improve the design by making them lighter and more accurate with a robust firing mechanism. The 3 players in the upcoming battle are the alliance of the Oda and Takugowa clans and the Takeda clan. The Oda traditionally controlled an area even smaller than the Tokugawa's clan's lands, just to Tokugawa's west. However, Oda Nobunaga was able to conquer and expand this territory considerably, and by the eve of the battle, his clan controlled much of central Japan. The Tokugawa clan controlled only a slightly larger piece of territory and would not go on to conquer as much. However, what they lacked in terms of real estate, they made up for in terms of share of power. The Tokugawa clan would, after this battle and in the subsequent Edo period, contribute 15 shoguns to Japan's leadership. So great was their dominance that some history books do not even refer to the subsequent period as the Edo period. Instead, they refer to it as the Sengoku period. Lastly, we have the Takeda clan. They were a clan descended from Emperor Saiwa who ruled in the mid to late 800 CE. They would reach their zenith under Takeda Shingen and then experience a gradual decline and extinction under his son Takeda Katsuyori. On June 16th, Takeda Katsuyori, the daimyo head of the Takeda clan, has Nagashino Castle under siege with an estimated 15,000 soldiers. To date, he has used Takeda gold miners to tunnel under the walls and rafts to ferry samurai across the rivers, as well as employed siege towers, but the castle, with its 500 stubborn defenders, has thus far managed to keep Takeda at bay. Head of the defenders at Nagashino Castle, and the main reason for Takeda's siege, is Okudaira Nobumasa. He and his family were originally part of the Tokugawa clan, but were forced to join Takeda Shingen's Takeda clan. After Shingen, who was Takeda Katsuyori's father, died, Okudaira led his men to leave the clan and instead rejoin the Tokugawa they had historically belonged to. This infuriated Takeda and led to the siege. Despite being surrounded, Okudaira, who was also known as Sadamasa, managed to have one of his vassals, an Ashirigaru low-class footman by the name of Tori Sunimon, get word to the Tokugawa clan. He was captured afterwards, but had fulfilled his main mission. As a reward for his bravery and courage, his family would afterwards be promoted to samurai class. In response to the plea for assistance, both Tokugawa Ieyasu and Oda Nobunaga sent an estimated 38,000 troops to assist in breaking the siege. 30,000 of the men were from the Oda army, and 8,000 from the Tokugawa. It would be Oda Nobunaga's finest hours of battle and a defining point in Japanese history. By June 28th, the Oda and Tokugawa allies and Takeda sides were ready for battle. Historically, the use of spies and scouts during this period was reserved for reporting enemy positions and troop compositions, something Takeda had employed to discover not only that the castle was to receive aid, but by whom and roughly how many. However, he would be the architect of his own misfortunes when he would base his entry into the battle on his personal intelligence gathering. For he had determined that any firearms would likely be rendered unusable due to the bad weather of the previous few days. Takeda's army consisted of 10,000 infantry and 5,000 cavalry. The cavalry were famed throughout Japan for their ferocity in battle and ability to successfully charge and overrun enemy positions. The Oda and Takugowa allies' troop breakdown of the 38,000 total men was 25,000 infantry, 10,000 cavalry, and a 3,000-strong Arquebus gunner corps. Oda believed that the key to victory was preventing Takeda's famed cavalry from fulfilling their objective of sweeping in and displacing them. To counter this, he devised a plan to maximize firing time and opportunity by having the men fire in volleys and then be replaced by fresh men who would in turn send their volleys, and so on. In effect, rinse and repeat. To accomplish this would require strict discipline and nerves of steel, so Oda tasked his personal 7 bodyguards with leading this gunner corps. He'd also brought enough timber to build palisades that effectively cut off the open plain from the woods on his left flank in the north to the river at his bottom flank in the south. He chooses to keep his main force behind the 3,000 gunners and their palisades, but he has committed enough men to form 2 small units whose purpose would be to continually bait Takeda's aggressive subordinates Baba, Naoto, and Yamagata. The bait infantry manages to pull away some cavalry forces successfully until they are halted near the palisades, where they come under heavy fire. Takeda, now mostly aware of the capability of the gunners at the palisades, sends in infantry sappers in an attempt to destroy the palisades, but the volley system is able to successfully fend them off as well, and most of these men, too, are killed. Takeda now elects to dismount his cavalry, owing to the wet ground, which he believes was mostly the reason for the ineffectual first charge. They approach, and vicious close-quarter fighting breaks out after they manage to withstand the first volley of fire. Despite inflicting some heavy casualties, the overall density of Allied troop numbers and the natural barrier of the river at the southern palisade flank have Takeda's troops once again retreating. The Oda Takugowa allies, recognizing that their southern flank is the perfect spot to send forth a raiding party that would travel around and behind Takeda's rear. Growing increasingly desperate, Takeda sends in the balance of his reserve to finally break through the palisade. This time, Takeda's troops are experiencing some success at the top northern flank, and the allies respond by sending in their recruits to bolster this failing flank. The fighting is now mainly hand-to-hand, with samurai going toe-to-toe, eye-to-eye. During this fighting, the Allies' raiding party, however, manages to reach Takeda's rear southern flank. Both sides order a general withdrawal, but the Allies reverse theirs on seeing Takeda's men retreating from the palisades. The Allies' samurai hop on their horses in massive numbers to pursue Takeda's retreating men. Takeda's retreating men are killed in massive numbers, and if not for the heroic actions of one of Takeda's leaders, Baba, at the rear guard, the entire army may have been wiped out. Baba manages to hold the ground, but while this is occurring, the raiding party reaches Takeda's rear and begins their assault, which causes a full retreat of Takeda's men from the battlefield. A chase is given, which results in hundreds more deaths, but it's then called off once the retreating army is far enough into the distance. Takeda loses roughly 2/3 of his army, or about 10,000 men, while the allied forces of Oda and Takugowa lose about 6,000, or just 16% of their total army. The aftermath would see Takeda and his clan wage a losing war for another roughly 7 years, before he and his family elect to end their own lives, thus ending the history of the Takeda clan. The Oda clan would continue to expand in the remaining decades of the Sengoku period, and to play a role in Japan's political leadership, albeit a minor one and backseat to the Tokugawa clan during the Edo period. The Tokugawa clan, as mentioned earlier, would, despite its smaller territorial holdings, go on to soar to great political heights during the Edo period that followed.